What is up, everybody? It's Animac here for AnimeUproar, and today I will be breaking down the latest developments in the Attack on Titan story. And I will explore the question of who is the real traitor here. Is it Reiner and Annie? Is it Eren himself? Is it Armin and Mikasa? Is it the Yeagerists? Or is it someone else entirely? Whom should we condemn as a traitor who betrayed their own comrades and their own ideals? And whom should we praise as honorable and heroic? This is not an easy question to answer in Attack on Titan, but that is what I will be doing in this video. Before we dive into it, a quick thank you to Summoner's War for sponsoring this video. Summoner's War is the classic mobile turn-based RPG, a game with 110 million installs and a massive global community of fans. I really enjoy this game, I love the awesome battle animation, and I also love that strategy plays an important role. Just for fun, I tried clicking random skills and attacks to see what would happen, and I quickly realized that in order to win, I need to actually strategize. Picking the right skill and move at the right time matters a lot, and that's what makes this game so much fun. Summoner's War is currently celebrating their 6th anniversary by giving away 100 free summons, so you have to check it out. There are over 1,000 unique monsters to collect, a global PvP arena featuring real-time battles against other players from all over the world, weekly in-game events, and so much more. Check it out for yourself. Just click the link in the description to download Summoner's War for free. Jump into the action, customize your very own Sky Island, summon your monsters, and join the huge global community of players. Just click the link in the description to download Summoner's War for free on Android and iOS. Look at this epic lightning summon gargoyle. Who will you summon? Just a heads up, this video will contain Attack on Titan manga spoilers. I will be referring to all the latest available manga information, so if you're not caught up to the manga, please proceed with caution, you have been warned. Interestingly enough, chapter 128 of the Attack on Titan manga is called Traitor. And this really made me think about who the true traitor is in this whole story. At this point in Attack on Titan, numerous prominent scouts, including Levi, Mikasa, Armin, Hanji, Koni, and Jean, have decided to ally themselves with their former enemies. I am of course talking about the Marleyan warriors, including Annie, Reiner, Peak, and Magath. It goes without saying that during the early part of Attack on Titan, Annie, Reiner, and Bertolt were the obvious traitors. They infiltrated the island, joined the training corps, befriended their fellow recruits, and then eventually betrayed them all. The actions of these three led to the deaths of countless people on the island, including one of their own close friends, Marco. As a result of their betrayal, Marco became half the man he used to be. There, are you happy comment section? I'm always seeing this joke whenever I mention Marco in a video, so this time I beat you to it. As we know, the unlikely alliance between the Marleyans and the Scouts was formed because of their common commitment to stop Eren from destroying the entire world. Even though they still have many points of disagreement, the allies all agree that Eren's plan to kill everyone in the world except for the people on Paradise Island is a step too far, and they feel compelled to stop this from happening. The Marleyans want to save their own families and the innocent people of Marley, which makes sense from their perspective. But it turns out that even Eren's close friends like Mikasa and Armin believe that the innocent people of the world should be spared. And what's more, they are willing to risk their own lives to stop Eren's destruction. These unlikely allies now find themselves facing off against the Yeagerists, the zealous supporters of Eren and his plan, who are currently being led by the true divine emperor of the universe, His Excellency Floch Forrester Stormborn, the first of his name, the breaker of chains, the mother of dragons. Fun fact, but that is Floch's full legal name and title, look it up. According to the Yeagerists, the world has been trying to destroy the Eldians on Paradise for centuries. The rest of the world demonizes the Islanders as evil devils who must be destroyed for the good of humanity. And so every time the Islanders tried to seek peace with the rest of the world, they were rejected, insulted, and attacked over and over again. Because of this, the Yeagerists believe that the only way to save the island is to destroy the outside world entirely. They support the plan that Eren is apparently putting into action because they believe that this plan, even though extreme, represents their only chance for survival. Unless the rest of the world is destroyed, the other nations of the world will always see the islanders as a threat. They will never stop, and eventually the other countries will attack and kill every single Eldian on the island. In the eyes of the Yeagerists, this is a very simple issue. Either we kill them, or they will kill us. Either we protect ourselves, or everyone we love and care about is going to die. So with that in mind, the Yeagerists believe that it's better to destroy the rest of the world than to allow the rest of the world to come and destroy them. To the Yeagerists, any plan to stop Eren would be an act of treason. Stopping Eren now could eventually lead to the death of every single Eldian on Paradise once the other nations of the world decide to attack. As silly as some of Floch's actions have been, it isn't hard to understand where the Yeagerists are coming from philosophically. They are doing their best to protect themselves and their own families. And after everything that has happened in the story so far, they believe that Eren's plan is literally the only thing that can save them from a cruel and hateful world. In chapter 1 to 8, the conflict between the Warrior Scout Alliance and the Yeagerists finally comes to a head. The Alliance is trying to get their hands on the Azumabito airplane, or the flying boat as they call it, but the port where the plane is currently located is under the control of the Yeagerists. What's more, the Yeagerists have captured Kiyomi Azumabito and other Hizuru officials, including mechanics who are essential for maintaining the plane and enabling it to actually fly. So, in order to reach and stop Eren, the Alliance needs to secure the plane, and they need to rescue the Azumabito faction. However, the scouts who are part of the Alliance now find themselves in a very difficult position. In order to secure the plane and rescue Kiyomi and the mechanics, they will have to fight against the Yeagerists. This means that they will likely have to kill some of the Yeagerists, but these Yeagerists are not just random strangers. Many of them are people that the scouts grew up with here on the island, and the scouts have known some of these Yeagerists for many years. They even served with some of them in the 104th Training Corps. Armin, Mikasa, Connie, and Jean in particular believe that they should save the innocent people of the world from the rumbling. They are willing to risk their lives, and they're even willing to fight their own old friend Eren in order to save these innocent people. But now they also find themselves faced with the prospect of having to kill their own fellow islanders, people they know personally, just so they could save complete strangers in other countries, people they've never even met. Understandably, the scouts are conflicted. Is saving innocent strangers worth killing their own former comrades? The Marleyan members of the Alliance agree that this is a hard decision for the scouts to make, and so they offer to carry this mission out themselves. Armin, Mikasa, Connie, and Jean can just stay out of this one while Annie, Reiner, and Peak use their Titan powers to attack the Yeagerists. But as the allies are having this morally conflicting discussion, Hanji warns them that time is running out. Judging by the speed of the Wall Titans, the first ones have likely already reached the continent. It is possible that the Marleyan cities which are on the coast and closest to the island have already been destroyed, and that is just the beginning. Even Magath experiences a bit of a moral crisis at this point. Even he admits that up until now, he has been trying to justify his own actions by constantly defending Marley and demonizing the Eldians. He now finally says outright that the Eldians should not be blamed for the sins of the past just because of their race. And he admits that the Eldians do not deserve the mindless hatred that the world has shown towards them. However, Magath also says that they all have a duty to teach future generations about the mistakes of history, the mistakes which resulted in all of this bloodshed. But of course, in order to teach future generations, they first have to make sure that humanity is going to have a future in the first place. And that means that Eren must be stopped. Magath actually bows to the scouts apologetically, but Armin says that they, the scouts, must get their hands dirty too. No one will be able to just sit this one out. Meanwhile, the one and only Floch is up to his old brilliant leadership tactics yet again. He tells Kiyomi and the Hizuru mechanics that everything is about to be destroyed, including their own homeland, but hey, the good news is that they will now get to contribute to the success of Paradise, which is of course the only place that any traces of civilization are actually going to survive. It is at this point that Kiyomi says something interesting and powerful. She says that even if Eren's plan succeeds, the killing will not end and suffering will not end. All the islanders are going to do is make their world smaller, but humanity is humanity, and eventually even the people who remain in this much smaller world will find reasons to fight each other. This is definitely a powerful statement. Depending on your personal view of human nature, there is an argument to be made that competition, jealousy, violence, and hatred are part of human nature, and no matter where you go in the world, these things are always present wherever human beings are also present. Even if all the enemies of the islanders were destroyed in an instant, the islanders will just eventually start fighting amongst each other because this violence is part of human nature. Floch agrees that Kiyomi is probably right, but as long as everyone knows their place in the world, everything will be fine. And yes, we all know that our boy, Divine King Emperor Floch, has a place at the very top of the world. He is truly an exceptional leader with a stunning hairstyle. As Floch continues to share his genius-level leadership philosophy, Armin and Connie suddenly show up on horseback and they demand to know where the Azumabitos are. Floch opens the window and asks them where they have been all this time, but Armin responds that there is no time to waste. They have to go after the cart and armored titan right now. According to Armin, the two titans have escaped the island and they are swimming towards Marley. The only way for the scouts to catch them now is to use Kiyomi's plane to find them, and they need Kiyomi and the Hizuru mechanics in order to make the plane fly. This is actually a pretty good strategy by Armin. Floch is clearly obsessed with destroying all potential enemies of Eren's plan. So, if he learns that he now has a chance to destroy the cart and armored titan, he will definitely be tempted to do it. He might even be tempted to go along with Armin's plan without resorting to any violence or bloodshed, which is exactly what Armin is hoping for. Armin and Connie then rush off to where the plane is located. The plane is floating on the water next to one of the piers, but it is being guarded by Samuel and Daz. Both of these guys are former members of the 104th Training Corps, so Armin and Connie have known them for a very long time. Although, to be perfectly honest, these guys are such minor characters that I honestly kind of forgot that they even existed. Apparently, Samuel and Daz were preparing to blow up the airplane, and Armin and Connie are shocked when they see the explosives. But Samuel explains that Armin and Connie are both suspected of working with the Marleyans, and the Yeagerists are worried that Armin will try to use the plane to stop Eren. Armin and Connie deny that they would ever betray the island, and they claim to believe that any attempt to stop Eren would lead to the destruction of Paradise. But Daz says that even though he knows Connie and Armin wouldn't betray the island, they are also the type of people who wouldn't want innocent civilians to die, even if they are the citizens of enemy nations. This is why the Yeagerists are suspicious of Armin and Connie. They are worried that compassion for innocent strangers will get in the way of their loyalty to their fellow Eldians on the island. Meanwhile, Floch is also skeptical about Armin's story. Just to be on the safe side, Floch decides to start shooting the Hizuru officers. If the mechanics are killed, then the plane can never take off. But Floch is stopped by Kiyomi, who demonstrates some freaking epic martial arts skills and takes Floch down and disarms him instantly. And before Floch's men can shoot Kiyomi, Mikasa breaks in through the window and takes out the Yeagerists. Unfortunately, Floch uses this brief moment of confusion to escape through the window, and he goes on to warn all the Yeagerists that Mikasa, Armin, and Connie have betrayed Eldia and that they must be killed right away. And that is when all hell breaks loose, as Magath, Jean, and Hanji are forced to shoot a bunch of Yeagerists to save Mikasa, Kiyomi, and the mechanics. Armin's hope for a bloodless confrontation is dashed in seconds. Daz and Samuel then turn on Armin and Connie, and Samuel actually shoots Armin multiple times as Armin tries to stop Daz from reattaching the explosives to the plane. Samuel then turns the gun on Connie, accusing his former comrade of being a traitor. But in that precise moment, Reiner and Annie engage their Titan transformations, and the sudden explosions distract Samuel. This gives Connie the opportunity to tackle Samuel to the ground, and the two of them begin wrestling over the gun. Armin, who of course has super special Titan shifter regeneration powers, jumps on Daz in an attempt to stop him from blowing up the plane, and a struggle ensues. Remember that all of these guys are supposed to be on the same side, and yet here they are, fighting each other and shooting each other. How did it get to this point? How did they all get here? That is the burning question in all of their minds. In the end, Connie succeeds in grabbing Samuel's gun, and he does what he hoped that he would never have to do. He shoots both Daz and Samuel in the head, killing them, but also saving himself, Armin, and the airplane in the process. Back on the hilltop where Levi, Falco, Gabby, Oyankonpon, and Yelena are just chilling and waiting, Yelena says something very meaningful and something that echoes Kiyomi's words from earlier on in the chapter. Upon realizing that the attempt to resolve the situation peacefully has failed and that all hell is breaking loose over at the port, Yelena says that violence is the one thing you can't take away from humanity. And that really does seem to be the message that the Attack on Titan story wants to teach us. Human nature clearly has a violent streak, and no matter what happens, we always seem to find a reason to fight. Back when the Eldians on the island were living in isolation and complete ignorance about the outside world, they still fought. They had a secret police, they made inconvenient people like Erwin's dad disappear, and so on. Then when the Marleyans attacked, they all fought each other, and now they are fighting each other again based on whether they support or oppose Eren's plan, and the cycle just keeps repeating itself. And as we know from Attack on Titan's history, this cycle of violence has been going on for literally thousands of years. And of course, it's not just Eldians, the same is the case with Marley. They complained about being the victims of the Eldian Empire in the past, but in the present, they have their own empire, and they have been attacking and taking over other nations. They even used Titans, their former enemies, to help them destroy these other rival nations. And as you'll recall, even the Eldian restorationists, the Eldians on the continent who had rebelled against Marleyan oppression, quickly began fantasizing about reviving the Eldian Empire and conquering other nations. It wasn't enough for them to fight for their own rights and freedom. They quickly started thinking of themselves as superior, and they started fantasizing about dominating other nations. I'm not sure that I personally buy the idea that all human beings are violent by nature. I think that human nature is more complex than that. But I can definitely see how humanity's history of war and conflict can lend itself to such a conclusion. Finally, we arrive at the question of who is the real traitor in Attack on Titan. Which of these characters should we praise as heroes, and which of them should we condemn as traitors? Who here is doing the right thing, and who is betraying their comrades and even their own ideals? As with most things in Attack on Titan, it's all a matter of perspective. With Reiner and Annie, it's probably the most simple. They betrayed their comrades of the 104th Training Corps, but they did it in the name of their original mission as warriors of Marley. They were willing to betray the friendship of Marco and many others, and even though they felt remorse afterwards, they certainly caused the deaths of Marco and hundreds, if not thousands, of other people. Are they traitors? Yes, I would say so. They betrayed people who were nice to them and kind to them and trusted them, but the Marleyans did it all to protect their own families back on the continent. They knew that what they were doing was wrong. That is why they felt guilty afterwards, but they still did it anyway for what they believed was the greater good. Eren didn't betray his comrades on the island because he wants to save the island, but you could definitely argue that Eren has betrayed his own ideals. From the very beginning of the story, Eren always wanted to be free. He wanted to explore the world, and he wanted to fight for justice. After losing his own mother to the Titans, he wanted to kill every single Titan so that no one would ever have to suffer like he suffered. But once he learned the cruel reality about the outside world, Eren did essentially the same thing in Liberio that the Marleyan warriors did to him and his family in Shiganshina. And eventually, Eren decided to destroy the outside world in order to protect the island. In so doing, Eren betrayed his childhood ideals. Instead of exploring the outside world, he decided to destroy it. Instead of protecting humanity from the Titans, Eren is using the Titans to destroy most of humanity. In that sense, Eren is definitely a traitor. He is a traitor to everything that he used to believe in. We can argue that Eren had to make this choice once the cruel truth about the world was revealed, but the fact remains that Eren betrayed his own ideals. And what about Mikasa, Armin, Levi, and the other scouts? They believe that Eren's plan is too extreme, and they are willing to team up with their own former enemies in order to protect the innocent people of the world from the rumbling. But even though many of us can sympathize with their desire to protect millions of innocent people, we still have to recognize that the scouts are betraying the interests of the islanders, at least to some extent. For one thing, they are willing to kill their own fellow islanders, the Yeagerists, in order to protect some complete strangers. They do so reluctantly, but they are still doing it. Now you can certainly argue that the Yeagerists don't represent the true interests of the islanders. You can argue that the Yeagerists have been led astray by Floch and his fanaticism, but you cannot deny the fact that actually stopping Eren could one day bring about the destruction of Paradise. Now that the rumbling has been initiated, the entire world will see the danger that the islanders pose to the other countries. And so, if Eren is somehow defeated and the rumbling is somehow stopped before the other nations are destroyed, then Paradise will be in grave danger. Just think about it. The island is now without its walls, without the wall titans, and technologically it is far behind the rest of the world. This means that if any country decides that Paradise is too dangerous, they could attack the island and destroy everyone on it pretty easily. And now that the world has seen the horrors of the rumbling, you can bet that they will be even more scared of the islanders and that they will be even more eager to destroy Paradise and everyone on it. If Armin, Mikasa, and the other scouts have some sort of brilliant plan that can stop Eren and protect the island at the same time, then we can argue that they aren't traitors and that they are actually doing the right thing. But if they end up stopping Eren and the island is attacked by foreign nations as a result, then we have to concede that by staying true to their moral convictions about protecting the innocent people of the world, they betrayed the interests of the people on Paradise itself. So, their desire to protect innocent strangers could lead to the death of everyone they know and care about on the island. And this is the brilliance of Attack on Titan. Depending on which perspective you take, almost anyone can be considered either a traitor or a hero. Except for Floch, of course, because Floch is undoubtedly the true hero of the entire story. Anyway, as we know, in the real world, our own world, most wars and conflicts have multiple sides to them. And so, depending on which side you're on, you will have a vastly different perspective on who is the good guy and who is the bad guy. And the same goes for who is the hero and who is the traitor. With a few notable exceptions like Germany in World War II, where even the Germans themselves agreed that their side was in the wrong, most real-world conflicts are incredibly complicated and everyone believes that their side is right and that the other side is wrong. Attack on Titan does a great job of bringing this reality to life, and the story of Attack on Titan really forces us to ask ourselves why the human race continues to turn to violence. And it also forces us to ask ourselves why we are so prone to looking at the world as if things were just black and white, when in reality, things are not so simple. They are usually extremely complicated, and instead of black and white, they are a million shades of gray. This uncanny ability to shine a mirror to our own world and to our own human nature is one of the reasons why I love Attack on Titan. And I honestly can't wait to see how this amazing story is going to end. Now, please feel free to give me your own perspective on who the real traitors are down in the comments below. There is no wrong answer since your opinion will be based on whichever subjective perspective you choose to take, but I would be curious to hear your opinions and your reasoning. If you enjoyed this video and you want to see more Attack on Titan content here on the channel, please leave a like to let me know. And if you happen to be new to AnimeUproar, don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell to turn on all notifications. If you don't go through the trouble of clicking the bell and then selecting the option that says all, you're gonna miss a lot of our videos. It's just how YouTube works. You can also hit me up on Twitter and or Instagram at AnimeUproar. Don't forget to check out our generous sponsor, Summoner's War, for free, link in the description. As always, thank you guys so much for watching, and until next time, see ya, Space Cowboys!